Bangalore traffic, right? So, like me, probably you started about 7:30. When John, my PR person, said I have to speak in a gamification conference, like, you got to be kidding me, right? IBM, I never get on a stage without a suit. Now I'm supposed to be standing in front of cool guys who, do things which are very different from what we do in IBM. And then I realized, I dug deeper. I got a 2-week head, advance notice. So I sort of started digging what we do in gamification, how do we use it, etc. And then as I looked deeper into what IBM does, I realized that quite a few examples, including some of the things I've done myself in my role in a day job, which is borderline what we call as gamification or motivational psychology, right? I don't know how many of you know there's an office of IBM on this road, and as you get in, there's a scoreboard which is there. I always used to wonder what the scoreboard is about. So we have territories in country, and each territory have some reps, and each reps basically have to find out so much of opportunities, close so many of them on a week-on-week basis. So, and I was like, why the hell would you want to advertise that, right? That's information worth in gold to my competition, and there's no way I can, control who's watching that and who's not watching. And then I realized it's playing on this subconscious of wanting to be better, right? Wanting to be best, wanting to be better than your peers, and which is predominantly what probably this conference is about, and how to use that sort of a motivational psychology to better the productivity of an organization and individuals, right? So with that, I have only 5-6 slides. I'll not take more than 10 minutes as I promised. This is something, sort of the reason why you're here, right? It's, as a term, it started off in 2010. It's probably a buzzword, and that's why we're here. And there's also an ample evidence that it's growing, right? And as you can probably, through the day, when you listen to multiple speakers, you'll get an idea of where this is going and what's happening, right? I want to spend more time on what we do, a good case study we have inside IBM, right? So we have these sellers in IBM called inside sales guys. So inside sales guys never step out of the office, right? They are actually making calls, they're talking to clients, they're chatting to clients, they're Skyping clients, they're video talking to clients, and they're basically responsible for a bunch of things, like the 4 things, right? Either you're sitting inside the office and have a bunch of customers you're selling into, or you're basically subject matter experts in certain things. Like, for example, my day job, I had the cloud business unit for the country. So a bunch of telesales guys who are calling customers to sell cloud to them, right? And then the people who basically take a specific focus area, saying DR as a service, and then just keep calling thousands of customers and then try to get me leads so that my sales reps can actually go and knock on the doors and do something. The biggest problem we had with these guys was the 2 things which are happening. Previously, the telephone was the only way we used to talk to our customers, or the mailers. Now we have people who are tweeting about it, who are chatting, who are positioning it in LinkedIn forums, Facebook pages, you name it, right? The social, the mobile, every angle is coming to it. And there's no way that we could actually track and motivate these guys to do 2 things. Do what they're doing better, and actually ensure the rest of them are able to learn from what you're learning day to day in your interactions with your customers and interactions with other people outside the company, right? So what we said was, we create something called a SMART score, right? One of the things which we did as a part of this was we realized that if you don't benefit the employee at the end of it by whatever you're trying to do in terms of gamification, it just becomes a leaderboard, like what we have in a scoreboard. But what we did was we also, as a part of this, got rid of a huge amount of reporting they needed to do for each of the channel, right? How many tweets you did, how many Facebook likes you got on a particular thing, how many LinkedIn comments did you go, how many YouTube videos did you load, what is your page reputation like, a lot of things which were all happening around the page where the rep is sitting and working, but is not holistically being reported together, Right? What we did was we created this smart score and said, every time you have someone click through an e-contact, you get a point. Every time someone basically, 5 web page visits, you get 1 point. You do a text chat, you get 1 point. You update a widget, you get another point. So what we did was, if you look at the set of things which are here, there's a bunch of them which we are trying to improve what we're putting out, and a bunch of them which we are measuring people on what they're able to get in. So what it does is basically starts creating this whole competitive nature inside the group, inside the sales organization, wherein they're doing, not only are they trying to become better, but as they're doing this, they're also enriching the content we post on in the web, enriching the type of interactions we're having. So this is a good example of how these two, regular enterprise sales or inside sales and gamification overlap, right? Now to the last 2-3 minutes, I just want to cover why do you think IBM is interested in this, and what do we see our motivation in this, right? Today the forces which are driving IT consumption are not your typical enterprise workloads. You want to run an SAP, or you want to run an Oracle, or you want to run a mainframe core banking sort of a thing. But there are a bunch of them which are basically getting together from the mobile devices, the amount of machine-to-machine data which is available, the growth of social media which is there. All of this basically require us to start thinking about how we use IT in a very different manner, right? How do we basically have an IT infrastructure which will allow us to not only experiment around any of these, but also to scale as some of these grow. If you look at the previous example, if you were to go to a typical IT department and ask for infrastructure to put up a game, you can imagine what's the response you'll get, right? You'll be laughed at probably, or you'll become the 3rd priority or the 4th priority in terms of what is made available to you, right? So what we need is basically a different type of system of engagement, wherein you're basically doing knowledge sharing, you're having a better engagement models, and not limited to just the office at any time, anywhere, right? And that is where I think cloud as a mode or enabler for you to do these experiments comes to the fore, right? Rather than going to your infrastructure provider and asking him for a few machines for a few days, your ability to acquire capacity on demand for a period of time, depending on the amount of take up you see on a particular initiative, and scale it up or scale it down, is what cloud does. Apart from the whole pay-as-you-use softwares which are available, for example, in our case, we used a lot of a product called Lotus Engage and Lotus Live, which is a cloud-based email and collaboration suite of products, so that we could get these people to collaborate and create a gaming sense around that. So while today you'll listen to a lot more experts on what exactly is gamification and how do you do it in the context of enterprise and otherwise, one of my colleagues will come down later in the day and talk about a bit more detail on specifics of cloud and how you use it in a gaming sense, and what are the offerings you have, not necessarily offering, what are the technologies which are there to help you do that better. So with that, I thank you for the time you provided. I hope you have a wonderful day learning, and also hopefully you'll end up using some of the cloud technologies which are there to experiment and start getting into the whole gamification strategy. With that, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mudya.